What's going on, everybody? Here with my first impressions of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. At the time of this recording, I've played a little over 5 hours of the story, and I kind of wanted to break down my experience with the game. Spoiler free, of course, so don't expect even all the footage on screen here. This is spoiler free as far as the story is concerned. So, um, first of all, I want to start with the presentation. It's really top notch. I mean, it coming from Rocksteady, you can already like imagine the amount of care given to the presentation itself. The writing is really good. The script is good. Voice acting across the board has been very solid. It starts off with a tutorial, which is what you're kind of seeing on screen here, and it's a pretty good introduction into the game. It allows you to play as all four, and get a feel for kind of all four of them before you make your choice on who you want to start the game with. As you can see, I went with Captain Boomerang. But that's just a personal choice. I love the character, but they all feel great. They all feel really good to play with. Um, the art direction is really good. It definitely has, even though it looks a lot brighter and everything than which we're used to with the Arkham games, it still retains that Rocksteady style to it, which I really appreciate that. Um, Also, the transition from gameplay to cutscene is very good. Sometimes it's seamless, and then when it comes back to gameplay, like you'll be put back in the perspective of your character, and it's done really well. For visuals, you can see it. I mean, this video probably doesn't do it justice, but it is a gorgeous looking game. Really, like the textures, um, in the environment, the detail, the trash on the floor, the day and night cycle is really good. The character design is amongst the best I've ever seen. This is truly a next gen game, from the way it feels and plays to the way it looks. I feel like the facial animations are really good. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but I believe everyone did performance capture, because I don't think there's any way they could have got like the facial expressions that good if the actors weren't doing performance capture. Um, Harley Quinn, the details on her face, the little scars she's got, boomerangs, wrinkles, Deadshot, beads of sweat on his face, and then of course King Shark with his all of his scars all over his body, his gills and everything. It's just really good quality. The physics are definitely a step above when it comes to Rocksteady's games. The previous Batman games, they're real tanky when you're just walking. This is not that. This is a complete step in the right direction. Than previous titles. It reminds me a lot of Uncharted, if you played that, like the way you move back and forth, and your weight shifts, and you can see that, and you control the speed of your character's movement, and it's really well done. So good job there. Uh, Metropolis is great. I mean, it's huge. Like, I, again, I'm 5 hours in, and I feel like the map was going to be smaller than it actually is. I haven't even been maybe a quarter of it, but it doesn't feel. With that being said, it doesn't feel like too big either so far. Um, the audio is a big thing for me, and this game delivers on all aspects of the audio. The voice work, the dynamic music that plays, and it'll change depending on the cutscene, what characters are on screen. Even like when you see Batman, you can hear that ambient Arkham theme in the background, which is really cool and seamless. The sound effects are great. Boomerang's whistling boomerang sounds awesome. The guns sound great, all of them. Shells hitting the ground, just everything about, like, even the sound effects, the music, the voices, it all works cohesively. The one thing negative I will say, and this is kind of controlled by you, the player, is, so the characters, they do talk a lot amongst themselves and to each other. And if you kind of like, and this is, I don't know, maybe it won't be that big of an issue to some people, but if you kind of like keep progressing to your next objective or waypoint while your character might be commenting on something or telling a story, then you'll kind of get like, the radio will pop in and Waller will be talking to you, and your character's still the other character maybe was still talking, and so it kind of takes away from the immersion a little bit. So you kind of miss out on those things, and that's a personal thing for me. Like, I'm a huge DC fan, and I literally want to hear everything these guys have to say about, their experience within this universe, because we haven't seen any of them other than Harley Quinn. I mean, even Deadshot, without spoiling anything, like, we don't even know if it, like, what's going on there with the Deadshot from the previous Arkham games. Really, it is hinted at, I will say that, more than once. So hopefully that we find out what was really going on there. But it just, I'm really like, I want to know where these characters were. They do comment a lot on previous events of the Arkham game, even though they weren't around. But it's kind of like, oh, I heard this and this and that, and Harley, she'll be the one to talk about her experiences, which is really cool. Another thing is, I noticed that, so I started doing some character switching. I wanted to see if because there's a lot of things you can interact with in the environment. And I wanted to see if, like, you interacted with the different characters, if they would say different things than they do, which is really cool. There's been some really cool moments that a lot of people may have missed if you just play solely as one character. So just keep that in mind. As far as the audio, or the performance goes, 5 hours in, very little frame drops, and when they did happen, I feel like it was during cutscenes. It wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, game breaking or anything, or anything that can't be fixed maybe with a patch or something. But even then, it's not. I'm being nitpicky here. It's really not that noticeable, unless you're looking for it. I know Jedi Survivor was another game that had that problem, but it's nowhere near as bad as that game was at launch. So I didn't really notice any glitches. There was one that I did see happen a couple of times, where Harley's her drone that she uses to grapple with it, like when you're not in combat, it seems to like go sporadically, like, because it follows her around, right? So if you're not playing as her, you kind of see it, like, kind of glitching in and out. But that was only one time that I seen that. The AI, I played completely solo. I haven't played with anybody yet. The AI is actually really good during combat. Like, they help out. They don't really get in your way. But the same can't be said for during non-combat parts, which I know what you're seeing here on the screen is primarily combat, and I wanted to keep it that way to avoid any type of spoilers. But there is downtime and there is exploration aspects to this, as you would expect. And sometimes, for the most part, they kind of stay away from you. They traverse really well while you're traversing. Kind of like, when you're Spider-Man 2, if you played that, like when both characters are on the screen at once, how you can kind of see the other characters like following along your path. They kind of take their own path. It's done really well. But when you're kind of just walking around and looking at little details in here, sometimes like a character will get in your way. You got to walk around them, things of that nature. Another thing I wanted to point out too, the emotes. I'm not an emote guy. I never have been. I don't really play live service games, but they've done some really good, cool things with the emotes for the characters specifically. Some of the best I've ever seen. But again, my experience with that type of aspect of the game is little to none. But these ones are done well. Um, As far as the gameplay goes, the combat is very responsive and fluid once you get the hang of it, and it doesn't take long. Um, the shooting feels great. It feels weighty, punchy. The melee is cool. Like the game encourages you to keep your combo going, like traversal while you shoot, and all these different things, and you're rated on your performance based on that. And I think like that's how they determine what you get after the mission is complete as far as like weaponry and gear. I haven't seen any repeats in gear, which is a great thing. And another cool feature too is that like each character has a specialization of a weapon that they prefer. So if you unlock like a shotgun and you're playing as Harley, that new shotgun is automatically going to go to Boomerang because that's one of his specialties. I'm sure there's a setting where you can switch it, but I noticed that and I thought that was really cool. So it's not an overwhelming like gear management system, which was what one of my initial fears was of the game. Um, Immersion is a big thing for me in any game, and this game is a lot more immersive than I expected, which is impressive considering it's built for co-op. Uh, I've only played solo so far, but there is a lot of little Easter eggs and lore content scattered around the map if you take your time to look for them. Um, you can tell a lot of love was put into not only the characters but the environment itself. It actually makes you feel like you're in Metropolis, despite it kind of being void of humans. But that's part of the story. Brainiac has them all either under his control or on his ship. But it is immersive. The city is beautiful. Um, really good job with the immersion so far. Side content. After a couple hours, 5 hours, I didn't really. I don't want to spoil anything, but I did come across like one side mission, but it seems to be like an ongoing one throughout the story. I didn't come into like cross any random encounters of like, oh, like save this person or save you know what I mean, like. But maybe again, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, so maybe things of that nature will open up down the line. There are some collectibles in the form of audio logs. It seems like you unlock them as you get through the story. It's not really like a pickup thing, but the audio logs, I listen to them. I love things like that, collectibles, lore builders, and in universes that I like. So those things are definitely there. Um, And so, I'm a sucker for attention to detail, and Rocksteady has done it again for sure. Don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just leave it at that. Um, I guess the negatives for me would be this being a looter shooter, the type of game that it is. I understand why it's there, um, but it kind of takes me a little bit out of the experience when you kill an enemy and you see all these icons explode, and then you run by and you collect them like to build your shield up, or ammo pickups and things like you can see right there, the little ammo drops. I'd rather that just be more dynamic. Uh, I don't know how they could have done it, considering the type of game that it is, but that's a personal thing for me. Not a fan of that. There's cuts in between missions, like a mission complete screen, and then it'll show you your rewards that you get, and that happens outside of the world. So it goes into a little like mission complete scene, and you'll see the gear that you get, and then you can go and equip it to your whatever character you want to equip it to, even if it's not the one you're playing with. I'd rather that have been dynamically, like, hey, look, you did great. Boom, here's a bat pod. It drops down. You open it up. You get the gear. You move on, instead of it being like mission complete. Because this is an open world game at the end of the day. Um, I think it's not game breaking, obviously, but it's. I wish they would have handled that in a little bit of a different way. But yeah, guys, that's my 5 hours so far. I'm looking forward to jumping back in and see you guys on the next video.